What's going on? It's your boy BB Bandit. It took way too long for me to post again, and it's not going to be consistent at all until September. So, yeah. So pretty much I'm going to be talking about the time my cousin got his dick bit off, pretty much. Yep. So, I'm at home one day, and my cousin calls me, Roderick. I'm going to call him Roderick. Roderick calls me and says, "Oh, yo, you want to go for a drive?" So my girlfriend is over, and I'm like, "All right, you want to go for a drive?" Jenny's there, Jenny from the block. Woo, guest star. But Jenny from the block's there. So, my girlfriend doesn't really like Jenny. I'm not a huge fan of Jenny either, but she's alright. She's a good story time. Pretty much why I hang out with Jenny. So, my cousin Roderick, he picks me up, and Jenny's in the front seat. Me and my girlfriend are in the back. So, we just start driving around. She has a bunch of cigarettes and stuff, so I'm like, "Oh, yo, give me a dart or whatever." The thing you gotta know about Roderick is that he's one of those people who used to, vape, and now he pretends like he's a nicotine recovering addict because his grandma told him that nicotine is bad. So now he gets mad at other people for smoking and stuff because he pretends he is more of a mature and profound than the rest of us, but he's really not. So yes, so we get in the car and he wouldn't let us vape or smoke or anything, and it's his car, so I understand. And I'm not really a big vapor anyway. It's more like smoking's my thing. So she gives me a cigarette, so whatever. I have it. Didn't end up smoking it. So my girlfriend has a condition where she passes out and stuff. She's not really sure what it is. Not really gonna get into it because it's not my place to put it out on a public platform. But he gives me one, and my girlfriend ends up passing out in the back seat in my arms. And I start yelling at him to pull over, and he won't. And the only reason why he wouldn't pull over is because I had a cigarette in my hand. So I ended up throwing the cigarette out the window, and Jenny looked absolutely devastated. Check on my phone because somebody is texting me. No, it's just Streaks from Snapchat. Awesome. So she ends up passing out. He doesn't end up pulling over for a little bit until we end up getting to Walmart after I throw the cigarette out the window, and he's playing dumb. So after that, the only reason why me and my girlfriend went in the first place, we didn't want to leave Roderick alone with Jenny because we knew Roderick would end up doing something with Jenny. So after my girlfriend passes out and she wakes up, I'm kind of like, fuck this, let's just go back to my place. So we get dropped off, and that's kind of like the end. Next, couple days later, my girlfriend's at her house. I'm at my house, and Roger calls me, panicking. He says, dude, I really need to tell you something. He's like, shit went down with Jenny, and first thing I thought was, ching, a bunch of money, gonna be rich from these story times. Really, I don't get paid anything because I have 2,000 views and that's it. I'm very happy with all those views, but let's double those numbers. Alright, so pretty much he calls me and he's like, Jenny, something bad happened with Jenny. You gotta promise you wouldn't tell anybody. I wouldn't tell anybody if I was, I only told my girlfriend because she was kind of in on it. So he calls me, and this is the third time it's happened. The thing you gotta remember is Roderick's 18 and Jenny is 15, so that's pretty illegal. So he calls me and he's like, well, she told me she broke up with her boyfriend when Jenny didn't break up with her boyfriend. So I said, okay, how do you know they broke up? He said, well, she changed her status on Facebook. The relationship status on Facebook is now changed. So that means they're broken up 100%. No way you could just delete it and then bring it back later. So Roderick's like, well, I was trying to explain to him, dude, it's a Facebook status, but he doesn't understand that. So I was a little pissed off, whatever, fuck that shit. So we keep talking a little bit, and he says, well, we were in the car alone. And the story starts with pretty much they were in the car alone and she gave him head, and then they started to do the nasty, the deed, the dumb, and something stopped it, which I'm not going to say yet. So pretty much later on I find out that he is hanging out with Jenny in his car, driving around, and they going to the animal shelter to see cats and dogs and stuff, because Roderick's an animal lover. I hope he doesn't love them too much, but who knows? So, I said he's against nicotine, and he considers nicotine as a drug, a serious drug, which I don't, but whatever. So she wants to go smoke weed, and you know what? You can smoke weed all you want, power to you. I don't think younger people should smoke weed, but who cares? If you're gonna smoke weed, smoke it. It's better than cocaine or anything like that, so. And it's good for whatever, so. She's smoking weed. She was drinking alcohol, which is a dangerous spot, right? So once they leave the animal shelter and then in the car, she takes her shirt off, he told me. And, Jenny has braces, so you kind of get where this is going. And he's like, well, what about your boyfriend? Like, oh my God. And she tells him about the Facebook status. But, things stop there. She put her shirt back on, whatever. So they get back in the car, like they're in the car when this happened, but they start driving to this guy's house, and he basically just has like edibles and stuff like that. So, Jenny's not going to be in the right state of mind after doing that. So Roderick drops her off and stays in the car, plays dumb and acts like nothing's going on. But he would have got out of the car if he wasn't scared of, like quote unquote drugs or alcohol. But he pretended like he didn't know she was drunk at first. But then he admitted that he drove her to this place where she got stuff to get intoxicated. So they get back in the car after she basically goes to this drug dealer's house, and then they get in the car and she starts taking off her shirt and stuff again, and he gives in because he wanted to. He just acted like he didn't want to, but of course he's a virgin still, right? So he's gonna want to give in because he's 18, almost 19 years old at the time. So yeah, anybody's gonna give in. Any horny teenage boy is going to give in. So she takes off her shirt, and he's like, whoa, what about your boyfriend? And she goes, well, we're not dating anymore. And he says, how do I know that? And she turns around the phone and shows him like the Facebook. So he doesn't believe her and says, okay, well, I'm gonna go on my Facebook and check, like it's gonna change. So it changed. It wasn't on either of them, the relationship status. So he ends up, like he needs to get a little wet before entering in there, so she goes to give him head, and her brace one of her braces cut the tip of his dick, and he didn't know. So basically once he went in, one push in, like she was on his lap, it started to bleed everywhere, and he had to push her off. And this girl, Jenny, like if you watch any of my other story times, she's known to go around, and she doesn't use protection. So he calls me, and the first thing I say is, well, that's really illegal, because she was under the influence, plus she's a minor, plus like a bunch of other stuff. And he was convinced she loved him. Like, really loved him, really cared about him. But he had a car, he has a job, and she doesn't have a very good life because she's in the system. So I'm not really going to say anything because it's not my place. But be a little smarter, Roderick, if you ever end up watching this. But I know you're not smart enough to pick up on that it's you that I'm talking about. Unless I put a picture of your face in the thumbnail. Which isn't going to happen. Because I'm not getting sued for defamation. Pretty much, we're on the phone. I was like, well, you should get tested for, diseases. And he's like, okay, I'm going to get tested for diseases. It takes me an hour of convincing him, which he should have done it on his own anyway. Why is he taking advice from a 15-year-old when he's 18, almost 19? Who knows? So he doesn't tell anybody. I'm the only person he tells. So I tell my girlfriend, and she calls 811. So 811 is just basically like a number that you can call in Canada anyways that gives you medical advice before going to the emergency room, because since COVID and all, the emergency rooms, there's no point in going there unless you call them because the space is really taken up in there. And they recommend that he goes in and gets tested for some things. But his dad's a plumber, so he goes and talks to his father. And, Roderick has some daddy issues, but he goes and talks to his father, and his father's like, oh, high five. And I'm not sure what story he told his old man, but it wasn't the truth. It wasn't entirely the truth, because everybody makes himself look like a good guy in the story, but he tells 4 different stories, depending on who he's talking to. So, yeah, now he's still convinced that Jenny loves him and stuff, but he's playing it off. Oh yeah, I didn't have that much interest, but she's in love with me. And he says, when he calls, when we're on the phone, I was like, so? I was just trying to brighten up the mood. I said, how's it feel to lose your virginity? And he goes, no, I didn't lose my virginity because I didn't squirt. I muted the phone, and I started laughing so hard because my guy was being dead serious. So pretty much, it took over 2 weeks for him to get tested. He never actually went to get tested because his father, the plumber, said he didn't need to, because that's his logic. And he said, well, what do you think I should do? I said, well, man, if you need a place to crash, because, he's done a lot for me, we go for drives, whatever. I said, come stay at my place if you need a little break, or if you don't want people to know you're gone to the hospital, just stay at my house and then come back after you're done at the hospital. And I even told him I'd wait in the hospital with him. So I'm close with his grandmother, but not really the rest of the family. So I tell him to tell her, so I don't have to deal with it, because I don't want all this to be in my head if he gets a disease. So he calls her and he tells her a different story. So he ends up being okay. She ends up not pressing charges or anything for whatever reason, and he thinks she didn't press charges because she loved him the whole time. He still talks about it to this day because he'll change his, like, if he regrets making a decision, he'll just act like he never made it and it was the other person when he made it. But yeah, pretty much my cousin Ronnie got a scratch, got his dick bit off by a brace, and is now dumber than ever. Well, I hope this was a good story back on the YouTube grind. It was your boy BB Bandit. I don't know, sub, I guess. I don't know. If you like it, keep watching. Or if not, I'll just drop out of school and pursue YouTube full time with no subscribers and see how that goes for me. Alright,